right? And he came up with one of the most articulate things that anybody's ever said to me. It was really wonderful. He says, I'd love to be in a state of joyful pursuit. And I was like, ooh, that's a good one. You know, I said, I like that. I think I'm going to keep that for me. I said, I like that. I mean, who here would love to be in a state of joyful pursuit? Oh, yeah. So he said, okay, well, let's do that. Write it down. Okay, instead of stress, we're moving to joyful pursuit. Joyful pursuit. Now, here's the thing. You tell me. So we've got the new model. Joyful pursuits the state. Want the same payoffs. Important, serious, responsible, and caring. In order for those payoffs to get linked to that new state, he needs to find new what? New anchors, which are in the form of? Beliefs. Good one. Beliefs. He's got to have a new belief system, right? Because beliefs are what anchor the payoffs to the state. Does that make sense? So we turned around and we said, what beliefs could you come up with instead? What beliefs? Right? So there's a 5-step process to change I want to give you. There's a 5-step process to change. The first step is this. Recognize the state that you're in consistently. Identify it. Right? Then define and get clarity on the beliefs, on the payoffs that you're getting from being in that state and on the beliefs that you have about it. Okay, the first thing is recognize the state you want to be in that you want to get out of. The second step is then define and get clarity on the beliefs you have and the payoffs you're getting and the beliefs you have that are anchoring those payoffs to that state. The third thing is decide what new state you would rather be in. Decide what new state you would rather be in. The fourth thing would be redesign your belief systems. Come up with new beliefs that would anchor the payoffs to the new state. Does that make sense so far? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. And here's the last thing. This is all important, gang. Condition it. Condition it. You have to condition it. Step 5 is crucial because you've been doing the old system much longer than the new behavior. You'll most likely find yourself falling back into the old behavior out of habit. And that'll happen unless you form a better and new habit. Okay? A better and new habit. That's where conditioning is so crucial. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Yes. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Yes. Good. Okay, so joyful pursuit comes along. How can we feel important and caring and serious and responsible while being in a state of joy rather than stress? He says, well, I guess I'd need new beliefs. I said, that's a good thing. So he came up with a few new beliefs. He said, truly important people have the ability to delegate. He said, and they have and they usually have a lot of people that want to work with them, so it's very easy for them to create a support network. Ooh. So if you're doing everything, now what happens? He's sort of trapped. If he starts doing everything himself instead of delegating it, then that means he's not what? Important. But once he starts delegating, that would probably reduce his what? Stress level. So now, all of a sudden, if I'm not delegating and I'm stressed, that means I'm not important. See how it begins to turn around? Next one, he says, in order to do a good job, I have to be in my most effective state. I love this one. He said, I am not effective when I'm stressed. Therefore, it is irresponsible for me to allow myself to remain stressed out. Ooh. Isn't that a good one? Who likes that one? Show of hands. Oh yeah. Now, if he stays stressed out and allows himself to become ineffective, that means he's being totally what? And he doesn't want to be irresponsible, does he? No. Third belief he came up with, if I'm really serious about what I do, I want to be at my most effective at all times. If I'm really serious about this, I'm going to want to be effective at all times. And he's not effective when he's what? Stressed. Then the fourth one, if I really care about my company, I love this, because this man really came from the heart, and he was a good man. And he said, you know, if I really care about my company and the people around me, then I won't let myself get stressed, because that makes me treat people badly and introduce negativity into the company. Isn't that interesting? Now, if he really cares about people, if he really cares about that company, he's not going to want to introduce stress into it, is he? If he really cares about the people who work for him, he's not going to want to treat him badly, and when he's stressed, he does what? Exactly that, treats him badly. He's almost trapped now. If he's under this new belief system, if he gets stressed, it makes him what? Uncaring. By being stressed now, he becomes uncaring. He becomes irresponsible. He becomes not serious. Does that make sense? This last one I loved. He actually added a fifth belief. He said, you know what? When I'm joyful, I make other people around me feel good, and I am a great boss. And they said something interesting. He says, and I'm also a much better husband and father. Ooh. What would it be like to walk through the door stressed, and the first thought that comes to your mind is, I'm being a terrible dad? How many people here have kids? I mean, if you walk through the front door of your house all stressed out, and that thought came to your mind, man, I'm being a bad dad right now, where does that hit you? It's right there. I mean, what he actually found happening was he'd go to the house, and he'd walk in stressed, that thought would hit him, and he'd leave again. He'd say, kids, I'll be back in a few minutes. And he'd go out and regroup, and he wouldn't walk through the door of his house till he'd managed to let it go, because that was a huge value for him. He was a very big family man. Does that make sense? Now, how many people are beginning to see how this could work for them in their life? Show of hands. Yeah. Here's what's interesting. Here's what's interesting about this. So, what do you think happened after we worked through this? What do you think happened after we worked through this? He was lighter than air. I mean, you should have seen. We did this session one-on-one. You know, I finished doing a corporate training session with his company, and then later that evening we had a coaching session one-on-one on the phone. And I saw him the next day. I mean, he was lighter than air. You should have seen this. He looked younger. He was happier. He was pumped. And, you know, even his secretary was like, man, I like this. I always knew you could be like this, but this is great. Because he was in a state of what? Joyful pursuit. And he was just, Mike, this is great. I'm so glad we did this. This is great. And I was waiting. And I was waiting. It was interesting. Then he called me the next day. First thing in the morning, and he's panicked. Why? What do you think happened? He woke up and he was stressed. And he says, Mike, I don't know what's going on. It worked so good yesterday. Everything was, I understand all the day, but now I'm stressed again. And I said, Tom, let me tell you what happened. I know what happened. I said, you woke up stressed out of habit. You couldn't figure out why you were stressed, so you went looking for a reason until you found it. Anybody ever relate to that? Show of hands. He started, because what do you think happened? He woke up, and his biochemistry was much more used to being in a state of stress than joyful pursuit. So out of habit, he was stressed, and his mind immediately said, why am I? I'm not sure. Is it because of this? No. Is it because of this? No. And he kept looking until what? Something sounded reasonable. He goes, that's a good reason. I'm stressed because of that. Good. Here's one thing you got to remember, ladies and gentlemen. Conditioning is key. Conditioning is key. When I work with companies, we're going to talk about this later, when I work with individuals in coaching, you know, and I coach people, initially when I get in coaching with people, I tell them, you know, register for 3 months. Because it's going to take 90 days of our coaching one-on-one, you know, once a week or once every 10 days for the stuff that we practice to become a habit and condition. You really see the changes in your life. So you got to commit to 90 days. And then I always tell people, you know, if after the first month they don't want to continue, no one has to continue working with me. And no one's ever stopped after the first month, but I give them that. So the point is, you have to condition these things. Remember, you've been doing the old much longer than you've been doing the what? The new. So here's what you do. You chart this out. We can even work on one of you right now. You chart this out. You find your new things. You find yourself in a state of stress. And the first question you ask yourself is, okay, I'm in that state. That's okay. I don't have to stay here. Why am I in that state right now? What payoff am I getting? And put that somewhere in your notes. If you find yourself in that state, ask yourself, what payoff am I getting? And it could be, let's say, a sense of responsibility. Okay? I want to feel responsible because I'm trying to make everything go right. Once you've identified that, you say to yourself, great, how do I want to be? I want to be in a state of joyful pursuit in Tom's case. What new belief did I decide on? I decided, you know, it's irresponsible for me to stay stressed because I'm ineffective in that state. And then take a deep breath and shift. Can you almost feel how that would make a nice shift for you? Who can relate to that? Show of hands. Yeah. Now here's the thing. In the beginning, we're not used to doing this, are we? Most people are used to just having whatever thoughts they are what? Having at the moment. People aren't used to taking control of their mind. But who's in control, us or our mind? Us. Just like anything, for a long time, Tom had automatically been doing a behavior and a thought process that wasn't good for him. It was ingrained. Well, now he had a chance that you all have to take control of that on purpose and start making his mind work for him instead of being a slave to it. Does that make sense? Yes. But in the beginning, I will tell you this, it's not going to feel natural. The question is not whether it's natural or not, is it worth it? Ask yourself, is it worth it to do something that might sound a little strange, maybe hard to explain to other people, might be a little strange for you, if in the long run it means that the new state becomes your new what? Your new habit, your new regular state of being, and you get to live there. Is it worth the work? If you agree with me that it is, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Okay.